Okay, I'm gonna show you a trick to pulling out ornery frets and not getting a lot of blowout when you do them. And when I say blowout, frets have little barbs on them, and they're designed so that the fret goes in but doesn't come out. So when you try to pull them out, they're gonna pop out the edge of that slot and leave a mess, like on this for an example. And you can see how chewed up this, somebody just yanked these things out of there. And this is typical what happens, especially with older necks that are all dried out. And that's just a mess, you know. Then you can kind of fix that. Maybe you can sand most of it out, but probably not. I mean, you want to avoid this kind of a mess. And this is an old K neck from probably the 50s, and so it's, you know, it's dry. This is what I have here is a old Japanese neck from the 60s, most likely, maybe the 70s. And it's typical situation where it's rosewood and I want to get those frets out of there, but I don't, you know, I got to do it safely. So the first thing you do is you take an X-Acto and you're going to score the edge up underneath here. What we're going to do is we're going to introduce some water under there. So you want to get the goop out. Just run a line up under there. Don't put your hand in front of the knife. That's how you get cut. And you just want to cut, you know, slice some of that goo out of there, right? Both sides. I'll just do half of it for now. This one's pretty gooey too. Somebody played this neck a lot. Just opening up the gap between the fret and the fretboard. Now, I got my iron here, my soldering iron, all gassed up and hot at full speed. What I do is I take a little bit of water with a Q-tip and just put that on there. And if things are going, first of all, it'll resist, because most of these necks, just finger grease on them alone will put some kind of a coating on the fretboard. And, you know, just slop water on like 3-4 at a time. You want to get ahead of the one you're working on. You want to put like 3-4 frets ahead. Just put it on there and let it soak in there. Now, a lot of people will use the soldering iron and they'll run it across there and heat it up without the water, and that will help to loosen up things. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get the wood right at the edge of that slot to get flexible. Just the soldering iron alone it does something, but what we're going to do here is we're going to steam it. And when you put the soldering iron on there and it gets hot, right, I slopped a lot of water on there, it'll start steaming just ever so slightly. And you'll see kind of sizzle, and that's good. That's what you want. You want that thing to loosen up the wood on that edge. And you'll also notice that it'll start drying out because it's evaporating off, and that's good. It means it's getting hot, right? So there's a nice sizzle going there, and it's on the ends is where the issues can really be bad, because a lot of times they glue in the ends. I know when I do a fret job, I glue both sides out on the edges. Okay, so it's almost all evaporated off, and that's good. It's got nice and hot. All that steam in there is working to soften up the wood fibers. Now you take your tool of choice, we all have our own, and just slowly work it back and forth. You don't want to just rip it out like that, because you might want to more like lift it straight up and you'll get less blowout that way. So I work one side. When I can, I try to work both sides, but some of these frets are just, they're so small, you can't get a bite on them. All right, there, I got that one. And popped up. Perfect. No blowout, right? That's what we want. No blowout. So move on. Go 4 of them. Want it to, you know, have some time to soak in there. It seems crazy. It works perfectly. You're not introducing enough water that it really matters. It'll evaporate off in a day, and you can come back tomorrow and prep the fretboard and fret the next day. It'll be plenty dry in a day, because it's not like you're soaking this thing in a bucket or anything. You're just trying to get the edge of that fret slot softened up enough. And this just works beautifully. This was showed to me by my buddy Sam Evans at Cardinal Instruments. I don't know where he found out about it, but I'm sure glad he told me about it, because some of these old necks are like graham crackers. The wood is so dried out that you can't, it just crumbles, you know. This one, the old rosewood ones are pretty good. They're not bad. The maple ones, they can blow out a lot too. All right, so there, it just popped up. It's still a little wet. No blowout. Perfect. Take your time. Just do it slowly. Get meditative. Don't get in a hurry. Don't start yanking. You want to get it out with no blowout. Life is a lot easier when you do that.